All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to today's mini class. My name is Killian, and I am your presenter today. And this is going to be the fourth and final installment of our New Year, New User series, where we cover common Mac practice abilities, walking any new or experienced Mac practice users through the most essential tasks for any office. Today, we're going to be covering the basics of the attachments and images abilities. So first things first, the attachments or the images ability is used to attach images and documents to a patient's Mac practice file. Some common examples of its usage are scanning a copy of the patient's insurance card, saving a copy of a referral letter, various patient photos, lab results, or just storing any scanned paper files, for example, such as an EOB. And the attachments and the images ability are very similar in how they function, but there are a couple distinctions between the two. So the images ability is a free standard Mac practice ability used to attach files to patient accounts. The attachments ability is going to be a purchased Mac practice ability that works similarly to the images ability, but also allows files to be imported automatically from your computer or scanner into Mac practice. This auto import feature will be covered in a little bit later on during this class, but there is a bit of some further differences with the attachments ability. You will be able to use and you'll be able to attach a wider variety of file formats. But for simplicity's sake, I'm going to be just referring to it as the attachments ability for this class, as this is the ability that most of you will be utilizing, and a lot of the information we cover applies directly to both abilities. So first, we're going to go over how to create a new attachment manually. First, we'll want to go to the attachments ability in the toolbar. If you do not see the attachments or again, the images ability in the toolbar, you will want to right click on the toolbar, go to customize toolbar, and a drop-down window will appear that will show all of the abilities available to your office. You will then locate that attachments or images ability here. You will then click and drag it onto the toolbar. Once you have done that, you can click done and then click on the icon to access the ability. Next, you will want to click on the patient selector right here to select your patient. I will go ahead and just search up my test patient right here. Next, what you will want to do is make sure that you are selected on the patient attachments folder here. Once you do that, you will then want to click on the green plus button right above the sidebar to create a new record right here. And there's a couple different ways which you can manually upload an attachment. First, you can simply just click and drag an image from the desktop or from a folder into this display area right here. Or you do have the option to click on the browse button up here, which will then pop open what is essentially like a finder window. You will then locate your document. I'll select that and then click open. And this is just a kind of just a blank image here that will just pretend as an EOB just for these purposes. And there are lots of different ways which you can customize and document this right here. The main ones that I will recommend to always set are going to be an attachment type and a description to your record. I think these are important just for keeping track of different things and being able to easily access documents. You can set the specific attachment type here. And you have different options here. I'm looking at these and I'm thinking that general will most likely be the best one to choose here for like an EOB, for example. But maybe I want to have an EOB attachment type. If that is the case, or if you just want to have one that it makes more sense for your office, we will go over how to create an attachment type in just one moment. We'll just go ahead and select general for right here, and then you can type in a further description, whatever best works for that specific attachment. We'll just call this EOB just to keep it simple. You do have some other options as to how you would like to further document and put information associated to this attachment. You do have the option here to set a procedure date. If you do not set one in here, it will automatically set it to the current day, but you do have the option to backdate this if need be. You also have the option here to choose an attachment status. So I usually don't see the attachment status used very often because oftentimes the attachment type and the description are sufficient enough to properly document the attachment. But there are some uses for this that may come in handy for some offices. A very common way that I will see the attachment status being used is in reference to like lab work, for example. If you have that uploaded as an attachment, You may want to set that to something like in review, or it has been reviewed, or it has been completed, as that may work better for your workflow and how you guys handle lab work. So that may be an application of the attachment status, but again, I don't see it used very often because these ones are usually good to document the item. Furthermore, you do have an option to associate the specific attachment to an incident. So if you were attending last week's mini class in regards to ledger basics, we went over the different ways that offices may use incident folders in their patient ledger. Some offices, again, might use it as I do. I use it transactions for each year. So in this case, I would want to set it to 2020 transactions. So maybe I'll want to do that, but maybe you want to, if you have your incidents set up to have an incident for every visit or every 6 months if you're like a dental office and you routinely have 6 month checkups. You may want to then associate to one of those. It's really up to you how you guys will organize your ledger and also your attachments here. I'll go ahead and set that to 2020 transactions. And then you also do have an option here to associate to an order. So we won't talk about orders too much because that's a bit of an in-depth topic and is its own mini class in itself, but you do have the option here to associate to an order. So if we were to say, for example, this was lab work and maybe it has just come in and now we need to notify the provider that needs to review that lab work that we have it in and we can show that to them. So you can click associate to order, and you would have an option here to create a new order or associate to an existing one. Your attachment will be attached. You can assign it to the provider, put in any further information regarding it, and then you can click create to create an order for that provider to look at that lab work, for example. All right, so next I want to talk about how to create a new attachment type or a new attachment status. So in the case of this EOB right here, maybe we want to set that to an EOB attachment type as we find that would be beneficial for our office. So what we will do is we will select and highlight the attachment type folder here in the sidebar, and then click on the green plus sign, the green plus sign above the sidebar. Now you will have a new record where you can enter your attachment type. In this case, we'll just put EOB. And you also do have another option to show this type as a node in attachments. So I would recommend to use this option to your discretion. For instance, I may not necessarily need a folder of all my patients' insurance cards or my EOBs, but it may be beneficial for me to have all of my labs located in a folder in the sidebar right here. For this example, I don't really necessarily need my EOBs to have a separate folder over here to view them, so I'll just go ahead and Command S and leave as is. And now I do have that attachment type there. Furthermore, now if I want to go back into the attachment that I uploaded, I can go in here and then I can edit that attachment and set that to the EOB attachment type as such. Command S to save, and now we have switched that attachment type. So let's say, for example, we want to add an attachment status. It's going to be the same concept as adding a new attachment type. We will highlight the attachment status folder, click on the green plus button, and then we will type in our status name. Maybe we'll go ahead and call this completed or ready, for example, and then maybe we want to show this status as a node in attachments. So we'll go ahead and click that checkbox, Command S to save, and then you will see right here that I have that status right here that says completed, and I could view any patient attachments associated to this patient that have that status in this folder. All right, so next I want to talk about how to set up the auto import folder I was speaking on earlier. So first thing you will want to do to set up auto import is you're going to want to create a folder on your computer. Generally, I recommend doing this on the desktop just because it'll be easily accessible there and you'll know always where it's at. So I'll just right click here, new folder. So I have a folder here. Then maybe I'll rename this. Usually when I'm training offices and they want to do this and set up the auto import, I'll typically, they'll name it like MP scans or Mac practice scans, really whatever makes most sense for your office. All right, so now we have that folder there. Next, what we will do is we will go up into our Mac practice preferences, and then we will go to the attachments here. And now we have the ability to set up that auto import folder. So what we can do here is, as you can see, the import path is clear. I will click on the choose here, and it'll be similar to when you would choose a document. You would get that Finder window. You would search your folder and then click Open, and that will then populate that folder there, that import path. Next, you can then check on Enable Import Folder here. And now any file in this folder will automatically save to the Mac Practice Attachments ability while deleting it from the folder afterwards. So what this will require is some setup with the scanner, and the way the scanner software is going to be, it will be working and how it will integrate with this is going to be different depending on which scanner you use. A very common scanner that people will use and offices will use will be a ScanSnap, because that one will automatically, when you scan a document, it will automatically upload it into a specific folder on your desktop. In which case, once it is uploaded there, Mac Practice will recognize that there has been a photo uploaded there, and it will upload that attachment and assign it to whichever patient you have selected in your patient selector. But again, you do have actually a preference. If you wish to not automatically associate those imported files to patients, you can check that. Usually most offices will leave that unchecked because that's mostly there to improve workflow, so you don't have to you don't have to manually associate that yourself. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's go over an example really quick. So let's say that I am a receptionist and I've just received the patient's insurance card, and I want to save a copy in the patient's file in MacPractice. In this case, I unfortunately don't have a scanner set up to show you how that automatically works, but we'll go ahead and just go through setting it up manually really quick. So again, you will want to make sure that you have your patient selected in your patient selector here. Go to the patient attachments folder, highlight that, click on that green plus button there, and then you will get that new record that populates. What I'm going to do here is I will actually just drag this image over. I just have a stock image of an insurance card. There we go. And now again, I have the option to set my attachment type here. Say we'll want to set this to insurance card, obviously. And then we could put anything in the description again. Let's put insurance card. And the option to put in a procedure date, again, attachment status, that probably wouldn't be applicable for an insurance card, but that's something I could choose if need be, if there was something familiar with that. And again, you can associate that with any incident if need be. Again, we have that uploaded, and we'll go ahead and Command S to save. And there are a couple ways. For example, we all make mistakes. So say, for example, I had the wrong patient selected, and this was actually someone else's insurance card, and I uploaded it to the wrong patient. Thankfully, there is a really easy way to fix that. What you can do is if you go up here, you see that it has like a patient field that shows which patient this attachment is associated to. If you click on this triangle icon right here, you're going to get a drop-down window that allows you to select any patient to basically transfer that attachment over to their patient attachments. So say, for example, it needs to be Abraham Lincoln's insurance card. So I can go ahead and select that and hit OK. And now you can see it has moved over to Abraham Lincoln's patient account. As you can see, it's still showing here in the sidebar under mine. Usually when doing such things like updating which patient is associated to, you may need to get a refresh. For example, so if I get a refresh here, we'll go ahead and save that. So as you can see, it's no longer in this patient's patient attachments here. And then other options that you have, so say for example, when you uploaded an attachment, you didn't have any patients selected here. So I had no patients selected at all. What will happen is when that document is uploaded, it is going to go into the attachments node. So the attachments node or folder is basically a spot where all attachments go that weren't associated to a patient. So if it goes there and you do have that issue, you can open this, select that attachment if it is there, and then associate it to the proper patient if you need to there. All right, so lastly, I just want to talk about a couple of the other folders that are here in the sidebar. I'm going to close that up. So the locked patient attachments folder. So first, actually, let me go ahead and pull up patient selector and pull my patient in again. So let's say, for example, in my patient attachments, I have, my EOB. There's not really much to this that I need to do. It kind of just is what it is. There's not much further editing that I need to do to this document. So what I could do then is I can move this to the locked patient attachments node to prevent further adjustments to any of the attachment, or excuse me, the attachment attributes, such as description or the type. So different things, like again, that procedure date, the incident, and the attachment status are things that once you move into locked patient attachments, they cannot be edited. So if it was like my insurance card, that may be something we'd want to move into locked patient attachments because it maybe it's something we don't need to edit. So I can go ahead and just click and drag and I will actually move it into that folder. So as you can see now, I'm not able to edit that information. So in addition to that locked patient attachments, there are two additional folders that we'll go over. The first is going to be this thumbnails folder. In the thumbnails node, it's going to display all attachments for the selected patient, but without a patient selected, it is going to um, without a patient selected, it is going to list all patients with attachments within that display. And these are different things that you can use. If you have an image here, you do have further options where basically it's just going to show all of them kind of like this, basically just in a thumbnail view. And you do have the option, what you can do is you can double click on the image like so, and it will pull up a preview of that in whichever application you may be using. For most of you, it would likely pull up in the preview application. So you can then save that to your desktop or print that out if need be. There's different things that you could do with that if you would like. Go ahead and exit out of that. And you do have the option to also decrease or increase the size of the thumbnail. So you have a slider here. If you want to see the images a bit closer up, you can zoom in on those, or if you want to see more images at once, you can decrease the size of those as such. All right, and then the last folder I want to talk about is going to be the patient photos folder. So this is going to display not the attachment records, but literally just the patient photos. So basically whatever would be showing here, whatever patient photo you have associated for that patient. Um, so you can view those in here if need be. And this node functions much in the same way as the thumbnails node in regards to the display, the sidebar, and then the slider for size, and also the double click feature are all going to be consistent in this folder as well. All right, and that's actually going to wrap up our mini class regarding the attachments and images ability.